So once you've added the edging all the way around the top of your cake, we're going to add some little squares to the top. So taking your fondant again that you've got mixed with your flour paste, just roll it out, and again you want it a similar thickness to what we've just done around the top of the cake, so keeping it about 1/2 centimetre thick, making sure it's quite even. And what you're going to do is cut some little rectangles that are going to go on the top of our cake. Now try and cut them as even as you can. If you don't want to do it by freehand, then see if you've got a cutter, a little rectangular cutter that will do the job for you. Okay, so you're going to need quite a few of these. Some of mine are starting getting a little bit smaller. You're literally going to take them and we're going to stick them just inside like that, and then you're going to leave a space, add another one, leave a space, add another one. You're going to do them all the way around like that. We will add them to the top of our towers, but we won't do that until after we've put the roof on each tower. So once we've added our little bricks to the top of the cake, we're just going to put a little trim in front of the bricks. So we're going to roll this out to a long sausage shape. And again, we'll just make sure it doesn't stick to the board. I'm just going to roll it out quite thin, thinner than we've just been rolling it for our bricks. And we're just going to cut a thin strip really narrow. We're just going to put this strip around the top, so I'll see if I can show you on here. So we're just going to put this strip around here, obviously a little bit neater than that, and you just want to stick it on so that it looks like that all the way around. Once you've added all your final detailing to the top of the cake, what we're going to do is add the top of our towers. The inside of the tops of the towers aren't going to be seen, so we're just going to use some white fondant, and we're just going to roll some cone shapes, and it's up to you how big you want them, whether you want them quite tall, quite short, quite fat, entirely up to you. So just check against your cake what size you think looks right. Just wet the bottom a little bit and stick on top of your tower, making sure it's pressed on firmly like that and that it is reasonably straight. You want to repeat that with all the towers. Okay, so once you've added all your fondant to the tops of your towers, we're going to make a colour to make our roof tiles from. Now, you can have a nice bright colour, you could have a pink, a purple. I'm going to go for something a bit grey this time. Now with the tiles, if you leave your icing a little bit marbled, don't worry, it all adds to the effect. Once you've got your icing dyed to the colour you want it, just roll it out. out reasonably thin because these are just going to be for the roof tiles. Just make sure it doesn't stick to your board. Cut out lots of round roof tiles for the tops of your towers. Okay. So once you've cut out your tiles, stick them on each of your little tower tops, starting at the bottom, just making them overlap ever so slightly. Then when you add the next layer up, again, just overlap. Okay, make yourself a little template of the door that you want on. It wants to be the same size as the bottom of your path, and make sure it doesn't come too high up. So I've just done a basic shape there, which just makes it easy for when I'm going to cut out the door. Just going to use the same colour as I've used for the castle, and then we're going to paint it with a bit of brown afterwards. So just roll it out nice and thin. Put your template on and cut around. Okay. Taking a bit of water, just wet your castle just a little bit on the front where your door's going to go. Carefully pick up your door, put it in place. Okay. When you've got your door in place, smooth it down. Draw a line down the centre of your two doors like that. Okay. Then draw in wooden panels. Doesn't matter if it's not too neat. And then just draw in a bit of a wood effect, just lightly, wiggling it about with your tool, just to create a wood effect. Take a little bit of your brown food colouring and mix just a small amount with water, and then just gently paint in the gaps, brushing over the top lightly. Just add a drop of water if it looks too dark. And remember, we're going to cover the edges of this in stonework. So if your painting's not very neat at the very edge, don't worry too much. Okay, now we're going to put a little arch in stone around the doorway, so we're going to want some of the original colour. And we'll just add a little bit of grey into part of it, so that we've got some different coloured stones. You can leave it slightly marbled, should be okay. Okay, now we're going to want one centrepiece to go above the centre of our door there. So have a piece that we keep quite thick, don't need it too long. What we're going to do is just cut like you would get a keystone at the top of a bridge or archway. I'm just going to cut a little shape like that for the top. Apply a little bit of water on the back of it. And we're just going to stick that on there like so. we're going to make more to go around the edges. So again, just roll out, cut into the thickness that we want it. We're just going to cut out little stones. And do that in the other colour as well. So taking a little bit of water on the back of there. Just going to start building it in next to the stone that we've already got. And again with the next one. And we're going to do that all the way around till we get an archway on the door. So keep going until your archway is done like that. I'm just going to next just add a little door knocker or two. Just take some of the fondant and we'll paint this up afterwards. Just roll into a little sausage. Create round to make a tiny door knocker like that. And we're just going to add that on the door. Just quite tricky to keep it in a circular shape. Roll a tiny circle, add that to the middle of your door knocker where your join goes. Now we're just going to take a bit of metallic paint, not too much, and we're just going to paint this onto our door knockers. Like so. Then you can, if you want, mix a bit of green, make it a little bit paler than we've got on the board, and we're going to mix some ivy detailing. So we'll put some leaves going up the castle wall. If you don't have an ivy cutter, we can just make leaves by hand. I've got an ivy cutter, but if not, you just take a ball, roll it into a pear shape, flatten, and I'll line up the middle, and that'll give you a basic leaf shape which you can use instead of the ivy cutter. But we're going to roll out and use the ivy cutter, so just make sure the board is floured. Move this out of the way. Roll it thin. And you've got it as thin as you want it to be. It does need to be thin for the leaves. Pop in your cutter and have a little ivy leaf, and then we're just going to stick that, so turn it upside down. So just a little bit of water on the back, not too much. If you can keep hold of it. Decide whereabouts on your castle you want it to go, and just stick it on like that. Continuing to do more of these, or again, let the castle where you'd like it to go, and just add your little ivy leaf, a bit of water if it's not sticking, like that. Keep going to wherever you want the ivy to be to create an ivy look. Now, as well as ivy. You can make little bushes and trees. I'm going to make them again in a darker colour to this. So we're just going to add a tiny bit of brown to our green to make a colour that we want for our little trees. Just have it a bit darker still. We'll put in a little bit of holly green. Just darken it up a little bit. It's still a little bit marbled. Don't worry too much, it gives it a good effect. Now, for the trees, you can either have just a plain simple round little bush, if I show you, next to each door, like that. Or, if you prefer, roll it into a little cone shape and have the little cone shaped bushes instead. You can also, if you prefer, put a line around to make it look like the tree's swirling. Like so. And again, you can use that on the front like that, and I would do them matching one each side. You can press in a bit of texture with the toothbrush if you want for your bushes.